We believe that there is no system more important than education to fighting against racism. And we believe that our work in social and emotional learning must actively contribute to anti-racism. And we see SEL as a tool for anti-racism.
Great. And Emily, if you can bring us to the next slide, where you've sort of given some examples within the Castle 5 competency framework that so many are familiar with. What are some of the specific competencies? And in fact, we've been working at Castle with Rob and with our districts and experts to really update our definition of SEL to include and be more explicit about these really important elements. And on the next slide, we have a working draft of how we are looking at those 5 that will hopefully help educators and policymakers and those who create programs and those who are creating assessments and writing standards and guidelines really be more explicit about some of these important elements to self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. So
but some points that really came up and elevated for me was the notion of to engage in this work from a colorblind or power blind lens is to ignore someone's humanity and only serves to perpetuate the inequities that we talk about dismantling.
We have to play the long game. We have to stop looking for quick fixes, strategies, checklists, tell me what to do. We have to do deep work. And along with that comes talking about whiteness, talking about white supremacy culture and how it shows up in oppressive ways. And we have to do so simultaneously in a way that decenters whiteness, as contradictory as that may sound, but provides healing and validating spaces for BIPOC.
So if we're going to, really have a student-centered focus, then we have to be able to take ourselves out and look at our biases, no matter what background we come from, and then look at how we can dismantle that white supremacy, and that starts with decentering white voices too.
This is life work, as many of you know. Tools for having courageous conversations about that thing we never want to talk about, which is racial equity and whiteness and white supremacy. But one thing that's been really impactful in our district is doing race-based affinity spaces, to provide those spaces for people to dive into the work that needs to be done in separate racial spaces, but then also we come together. We follow the work of Ruth King in our approach to affinity spaces, so those would be 2 things.
And as you can see, we have connected Committee for Children, Castle, and Second Step. That was super easy. Now, you can continue and look for connections with these 3, and you won't stop for days finding them. Next, let's go ahead and connect Rethinked to Castle.
What makes Rethink the first choice for SEL? Rethink is the first to provide on-demand video modules for adult learning and all the resources necessary to apply it in the classroom. The first Castle-aligned curriculum to meet the needs of all learners.